Isn't it the cat coming?
Everyone has a story. A story about where they came from, where they're going, how they got to where they are. Everybody has hopes and dreams and fears. Everyone has a story that is worthy of being told. There have been so many experiences in my life that have led me to where I am now, being the person who tells those stories. From the time I started reading to the first time I wrote my own story, to the most life-changing of all, joining my high school newspaper, I've been on a journey in my life to turn my passion for telling stories into something I will be able to do for the rest of my life. Now, my mom introduced me to books at a very young age. I remember waiting for her at the end of every day for her to come sit in my bed and tell me a bedtime story. At first, all I could do was listen to the sound of her voice. But soon I was reading along with her, and it wasn't long before I was completely over the adventures of Clifford the Big Red Dog, and I was looking for something a little more. I first picked up a Harry Potter book at the age of around 5 or 6, and it was life-changing for me. I looked at this book, and it was magical and wonderful, and I thought, I want to write like this. I want to write stories that are so real and they have such amazing characters. I want to write stories that change people's lives like this.
It's basketball.
I got the chance to write my own story in about 6th or 7th grade. I remember taking the assignment page home. I was so excited. I was going to write a story and people were going to read it. I sat down and I wrote what I thought was a really thrilling story about ghosts and like soul-sucking demons and a 12-year-old protagonist who is going to save the day because that's your obvious choice for someone who's going to save the world. And I thought it was the greatest thing in the entire world. Looking back on it now, it was completely awful. Terrible story. The worst thing I've probably ever written, and I would regret it completely if it weren't for the fact that after I wrote it that day, I felt really proud of myself. I had written something and people were going to read it. I went to school the next day and I showed it to everyone and anyone who would listen and sit down and read it. This cemented in my mind that this is what I want to do with my life. I want to write a book. I want to share my writing with people. As I got older, though, I realized that writing maybe wasn't the most practical career choice. Becoming big like J.K. Rowling was 1 in a million, and it was just as unlikely that you would even get your book published. So I started looking at other career paths, but around junior year, the school newspaper was looking for writers. And they offered us the opportunity to skip the mandatory Intro to Journalism class, so I thought, what the heck, why not? Even though I'd never really considered journalism before because real life stories and talking about real life just seemed kind of boring. But anyway, either way, I took the class, and it ended up becoming my most favorite class I've ever taken in high school. I was writing stories about the issues that mattered to me and about people, and I met the most interesting people, and they all had some unique story to share with me. And that's when I started looking at the way I thought about writing as a career. I thought maybe I can do this. Maybe I can take my talents and turn it into something that I can do. And that's brought me to where I am now, which is studying as a public relations major, where I hope one day to turn my talents and tell the story of people and businesses, and that people will listen to the stories that I've read or written. I don't know where my journey is going to take me later in life, but I do know that I want to keep on doing what I have been up until now, and that is
He's gonna
telling
touch you.
stories about people and things. And I hope that I've inspired you here today to go out there and tell your own stories.
Bravo.
That's it. All done.
What did you say?
All done.
Okay, you still get an F or B.
Did you actually?